Welcome everyone to the channel. This is the first video of hopefully many other videos that I will be putting out. And today we're gonna do a review of the album For the First Time by Black Country New Road. Black Country New Road, of course, is an English rock band formed in Cambridgeshire in 2018, and this is their debut album. I love this album. Let's just get that out of the way before we move on to the review. In light of recent news, well, not so recent news about Isaac Wood's departure from the band and their release of their sophomore album, I felt that it would be fitting to review For the First Time, especially since I have listened to it multiple times. And I'd like to clarify that I don't have the best listening equipment. I use these awful gaming headsets to listen. I am not an audiophile, more of just a normie who listens to music on Spotify. But this may be just copium here. I think that most people, including me, use mediocre means to experience music, so this review may better reflect the average listening experience. But of course, it would be better to just go out there and buy an expensive headphone or full-on audiophile sets. But anyways, okay, without further ado, let's get into the album. So, For the First Time can be best described as post-rock. It consists of 6 very long tracks. The instrumental across this album is complex. The sound is just constantly evolving and switching. The electric guitars and horns and drums are weaved together beautifully to create a sort of chaotic and I guess impending doom sound that you can get out of this album. Another major characteristic of this album is the constant repetitions of some chord progression. It's a bit drony, sinister, I guess, and then the tension just breaks, and I love that. The band has a really good grasp on how to create tension and when to release it. And the songwriting of Isaac Wood is so specific and so poignant that it goes very well with the instrumental to create a dark or nervous theme for the album. I still don't understand all of his metaphors, though the lyrics definitely make me feel something. So yeah. The vocals are also just packed with emotions and just complement the lyrics even more. His style of just like half talking and singing throughout the tracks really adds a lot to the album and the experience as a whole. And to the point where like Wood's voice, I feel like Wood's voice is getting stitched onto my brain. The album opens up with the track Instrumental, which is an instrumental. Stop. The track features these driving drums, bass, and electric noises. I really don't know what it is. This is just an amazing tone setter for the album, and it just pents up my excitement, and every time I listen to it, I remember why I love this album. And at the end of the track, everything just slowly breaks down into this amazing, chaotic mix of different instrumentations, which sort of transitions into the next track. Athens, France is also another highlight, and it's the second song on this album. The electric guitars, the chord progression here are just amazing. I don't have to say any more about this, but I'm going to say more. And some of the chords are still stuck in my ears. And the band really shows their ability to execute what I call switches between chord progressions. And you should really just listen to this track. It is simply amazing. And Science Fair is another track that also stands out due to its songwriting. Isaac Wood is basically having a mental breakdown while recalling a Cambridge science fair. This track clearly is a metaphor for something. I don't know what that something is, but it makes me feel good or not so good. Again, the track is just amazing. Just listen to it. Just listen to the album. I am doing a really bad job of selling the album over here, but that's mainly because I don't really know what I'm doing when it comes to music reviewing. I just love this album. I just love music in general, and I want to show you guys that. And moving on, Sunglasses is the longest track in this album, if I recall, and it's very good. The songwriting has the same energy as Science Fair, though I understand more of what he's trying to say here. The lines that I am invincible in these sunglasses, cars are going beep, 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 is a metaphor for how there is this sort of false persona of false security when you try to act cool, you try to be superior to other people. And also, the song features lines such as I become a father and complain of mediocre theater in the daytime and ice in a single malt whiskey at night, of rising skirt hems and lowering IQs, and things aren't built like they used to be. The absolute pinnacle of British engineering. He is clearly sort of like worrying that someday he will become this grumpy middle-aged man that just complains about everything, and really paints his struggle to avoid being mediocre of sorts. So it's a bit of like teenage nervousness that I can relate to, but the instrumental and the songwriting in this is amazing. Again, of course, yeah, I'm repeating myself, huh? Okay, track X is one of the more tracks that I would describe as like beautiful, with female vocals to tell a sort of love song from track X. But I do have to say, this is one of the more boring tracks on this album. But it's still pretty good. I feel like what they're trying to do is to slow things down, sort of build it up for the last track, Opus, which I will be moving on in a minute. But I think it would be just better to slow it down in a different way. But still, I digress. Moving on to Opus. Opus is this album's magnum opus. That was intended. It has a similar vibe to Instrumental, but this time it is grander in scale. Moreover, I think that this song just ends everything, just closes the album up everywhere very well, and it just sort of returns to the first track, Instrumental. The repeating rhythms from the opener are back, and they are more interesting and intense than ever. So just listen to Opus. It encapsulates what this album is so good at, and in my opinion, it is the best song of this album. This album is not perfect, though. I have a few minor complaints, like track X being not entertaining enough for me. I do understand where they're coming from, though. This may feel dumb, but sometimes I feel the band is relying a little too much on a too small of a number of repeating chord progressions, and sometimes the switches aren't massive enough to really make things more interesting. And although the tracks do build on each other, like they do make sense thematically, I would like some of the transitions between tracks to be a bit smoother, especially from Athens, France to Science Fair. And moreover, like the beginning of Sunglasses is a bit slow for me. So few minor complaints here and there, but again, it's their debut album. Like compared to other debut albums, this is incredible, just incredible. All in all, this album is, you guessed it, amazing. I think this is an easy 9.5 out of 10 for me, or maybe a 9 out of 10, depending on the day. The band truly is one of the most interesting bands as of late. Have you listened to this album? Do you have any opinions about it? If so, leave it down in the comments below. I'd love to discuss this further with you guys. And oh, and moreover, their sophomore album is also very amazing, but quite different. Anyways, bye. See you again, hopefully, in the nearby future.